Welcome back, everyone. As you probably guessed from the title of the video, as well as the thumbnail, we have some new information regarding the second would-be assassin of President Trump, Mr. Ryan Routh. Of course, unlike the first one, he is still alive and he is being criminally charged. That's where we're getting a lot of the information in today's video. We're going to do some analysis of it, of course, beyond what is going to be contained in the charging documents, the new ones. And we're going to talk about some other unknowns and questions that we have just about this assassination attempt, as well as others. And that's pretty much what we're going to do today. So for those of you guys who are new, these videos get a lot of new folks. My name is Mike. I run the Mr. Guns Gear channel, and let's just get into it. Just like any criminal charging document, there is the initial summary and then the facts. So we're going to start out here with the facts. And on September 15th, President Trump was golfing at his golf course in West Palm Beach. As the president advanced through the course, a Secret Service agent was part of the protective detail, moved ahead of President Trump in a golf course. He was conducting a security sweep to identify any potential threats, which makes sense to ensure the safety of the former president. The perimeter of Trump International is surrounded by a chain link fence, and the southeast corner of the course is screened by trees and brush. The sixth hole is on the southeast corner, as shown in the map below. So just kind of checking out the map here, it's important to kind of understand what's going on. President Trump was on the fifth hole. He has said in a couple different interviews that he still had to putt on the fifth green. So whether or not he was actually at the fifth green yet, we don't know, or whether or not he was on the fifth green, we don't know if he was just going up to it or not. But he said that he still had to putt on the fifth green in multiple interviews. And then if you template out where the potential shooter was, there would have been trees obstructing his line of sight from that area. So the potential shooter very likely was waiting on the sixth hole down by the green, which is identified by the arrow here on the map. And basically that is where he was. My guess is he was attempting to ambush President Trump around the sixth green. Additionally, we should note a couple things that have come out since my previous videos. The media has reported, a lot of different people have reported, as well as the Secret Service, that this area where the potential shooter was here, Mr. Routh, that area had been used by media for years now to get photos of President Trump while he was golfing on the golf course. Additionally, as we'll see here in just a second, Mr. Routh had been to this area multiple times to scout it out, and it was the Secret Service's SOP for when President Trump was on this golf course to actually clear this area, actually go through and physically make sure no one was there, which of course this agent seems to have been doing, but in fact to post a agent at the post where this area was, and for whatever reason that didn't happen. There was a Secret Service whistleblower that came out and said that that was their SOP, to put someone there, a quote-unquote post standard, to stand at this exact place because it was known that had a good line of sight for anybody playing on the sixth hole. So getting back into this, like we said, the agent rode a golf cart and along the chain link fence that separated the sixth hole from Congress Avenue and Summit Boulevard. So Congress, again, is on the east side of the golf course, and the Summit would be on the south side. Congress Ave, many of you guys may know this, it runs almost the entire length of Florida. It is a very popular road, particularly in that area, very heavily trafficked. It goes on to say at approximately 1 p.m., the agent spotted, this is key here, this is new, this has changed from different things they put out in the past. At 1:30 p.m., the agent spotted a partially obscured face of a man in the brush line along the fence. The man was later identified as Ryan Routh. Routh's position was directly in line with the sixth hole. The agent then observed a long black object protruding through the fence line and realized the object was the barrel of a rifle aimed directly at him. The agent jumped out of the golf cart, drew his weapon, and began backing away, creating distance. The agent saw the rifle barrel move, and the agent fired at Routh. Okay, so what's very different about that is literally every single other report, including the previous charging documents here, had said that the agent fired at the weapon's muzzle and didn't see Routh. A lot of people were very, myself included, in many social media posts and many videos, discussed the problems with that. Reportedly, Mr. Routh was wearing his salmon-colored t-shirt while he was in this hide site. That is according to one of the sheriffs that was involved, either Palm Beach or Martin County, I don't remember which. So if the agent was that close to the fence line and didn't see the shooter but only saw a muzzle, we would have questions, right? However, a lot of people made a point about that, which is important, and now they're saying that they did actually see Ryan Routh on the scene. It's an interesting detail, it's a new one, so just know that. And then it says the agent took cover behind a tree and reloaded his weapon. So for those who don't know, the most recent contract for Secret Service agents has been for Gen 5 Glock 19s as well as Gen 5 Glock 47s. If you look at the weapons that were used, the agents pulled, the ones on the close protective detail, pulled during the first assassination attempt. That is consistent with those. So very likely they were using either a Glock 19 or a Gen 5 Glock 47. Whether or not they reloaded due to a slide lock reload or just a tack reload. For those who are new, a slide lock reload means that the gun is empty and you go to reload it. The tack reload would be you fired a few shots and then you go ahead and top it off with a full magazine. But many reports, including President Trump himself, have described either 4 or 5 shots being fired. So if only 4 or 5 shots were being fired, that would very likely be a tack reload. That may seem insignificant to a lot of people out there, but it could be significant based on where this goes down the road. So just know that going forward. The agent took cover, reloaded, then stated that Routh was gone. The agent called over the radio that shots had been fired and that there was a subject with a rifle. The position Routh occupied when the agent first noticed him was directly in line with the 6th screen. Again, that's redundant on this point. Former President Trump was on the 5th hole when the agent fired at Routh. Again, backing up what we've already previously heard, that there would be no line of sight on President Trump at that point. The FBI searched the area where Routh was hiding in the tree line. They located an SKS semi-automatic rifle, which we're going to get into here in just a second. Fear not, we will be getting to that shortly. With a scope attached and extended magazine. The rifle was loaded with a total of 11 rounds and had a round in the chamber. The serial number on the rifle was obliterated and unreadable. The agent found a digital camera, backpack, and reusable shopping bag hanging from the chain link fence. Photo below, you can see the photo. It says the backpack and shopping bag contained plates. They still aren't saying what these plates are. A subsequent preliminary ballistics testing showed the plates were capable of stopping small arms fire. So many different reports have said that they were ceramic tiles in there, which can stop, they can be used as improvised armor if you actually layer them deep enough. It seems weird to a lot of people, but it is true. They tend to break up projectiles. A lot of other reports have said that this was ceramic armor, which a lot of armor has a ceramic front and then either a Kevlar or a UHWMP type of polymer material behind it. Again, they're not very specific in this one here. So before we get into the rifle, one thing we do want to thank is thank the sponsor of this video, and that is the good folks over there at the United States Concealed Carry Association. Many of you guys may be familiar with them, many of you may not, but they offer a number of benefits to their members. One of them, of course, is going to be their online training. It's phenomenal. They also offer in-person training, which I've gone to several of their courses. Very good courses, very good training, modern training, which is something that we don't always get. And then recently they have completely revamped their liability insurance. So they also offer their members the ability to become insured when they become members for a self-defense liability insurance. You guys should see it here on your screen. There's a number of different policy changes that have gone into effect. Every single one of them benefits the members when they come on board versus what they previously offered. There was a lot of feedback by members and former members to update it, and they did, which is awesome. So definitely check them out. There should be a link here on your screen if you guys are interested in that self-defense liability insurance or the training or some of the mindset courses they have as well. It is very good. Now let's talk about the actual rifle in question. So this charging document has given us the best look at the rifle that he was used. Many of us have guessed that it was an SKS rifle right from the beginning. I believe I had identified that only a few hours after the actual photo had become public. A lot of folks were reporting that it was an AK. It's absolutely not an AK. It is an SKS, and the dead giveaway for me on the grainy photo that was originally released was going to be the gas block and the gas tube of an SKS. After looking at the photo that they have released that you guys should see here on your screen, I am fairly confident that it actually is this rifle right here. It is a Chinese Type 56 SKS with the spiker bayonet, the bayonet underneath. The one used in question had the bayonet removed, but there's a few reasons I'm saying that. Number one, because of the gas block combo that you guys can see here, it looks identical. Same with the front sight, looks identical. Additionally, the area where the serial number was obliterated looks identical to right here being marked on the receiver. And it should be noted that a few things. Number one, they mentioned that the serial number was obliterated on the rifle, and they're pointing to this part of the rifle right here, which is the receiver, the traditional serial number marking place. However, there are many different places that the serial number actually is on SKSs. So it's entirely possible, if they weren't all obliterated, as they say, that it could be recovered. Additionally, there's some acid testing that you can do with serial numbers, particularly if they're not punched out, and this particular one appears to be scratched out. So it's entirely possible that that as well could be recovered in that case. Now, this SKS that we see here, honestly, is a very questionable setup. So it has a Monte Carlo stock that has I believe it's called Combat. I'm trying to look at it here. Combat Exchange stock on there. It's a Monte Carlo stock. A lot of people upgraded their SKSs because that's a more comfortable traditional style stock. It has that on there, which really that is not too crazy. And then of course you see the FBI laboratory with the measurement sticker on the stock there. Some folks have joked that perhaps it had that on there before the shooting. I will let you guys discuss that in the comment section. However, this is how it's shipped from the factory typically. For those who don't know, SKSs have a fixed 10-round magazine intended to be loaded with stripper clips. This one here had a magazine put into it. I think this is what caused a lot of people to think that it was an AK from the initial grainy photos. And based on the picture there, you guys can see that it is this magazine right here from ProMag. A few things that let you guys know what it is these two ribs there on the bottom. Those were indicative of ProMag SKS replacements. Additionally, it does not have a spine back here on the rear of the magazine. A lot of competitive options out there didn't have those features. So very clear to me that this is what you're looking at here. You're looking at this rifle here, a Chinese Type 56 AK with this in there. Additionally, one thing to note, it's pretty easy to actually swap the magazines out here. Basically, you pop your trigger group out by pressing this little button right here. I'm not going to do it on YouTube because it's irrelevant, but I just want to let people know at home. And then this magazine portion right here comes right out. You can put this one in, and you put your trigger group back in, and you are ready to go. That essentially is the rifle that he was using. Now, if you look at what was the way this one here was actually set up, it does appear to have a scope on there with a variable power magnification, meaning you can change the amount of magnification on there. At the rear of the scope, at the ocular lens, I have no idea what that is there. It looks like a sticker of some sort. Obviously, it is not in any way a good idea to have bright colors on your scope if you're trying to hide out, but for whatever reason he did. The scope itself appears to be mounted on what's called a receiver top cover mount. So essentially this piece right here is your receiver top cover, and it is held in by this bolt right here, or this lever that goes through the receiver. Basically you flip it up and pull it out, and that is how you get this piece off. But this piece here traditionally, although a lot of people do use it to mount optics, was not intended for that by the folks who created this rifle, Mr. Simonov over in Russia. And it appears that he has rings on there, which is good. So he has scope rings, and then it appears to be a hose clamp with some electrical tape on the actual scope to reinforce it, to prevent it from actually moving around, because like I said, those are not the best mounts. So apparently we were redundantly trying to mount it on there. Whether or not it was zeroed, we don't know yet. The FBI has not released that information, but that is the rifle he was using. Continuing on with the charging document, shortly after the Secret Service fired at Routh, a civilian driving in the area noticed Routh running across the boulevard to a black Nissan Xterra. And this one actually is important because it noted which boulevard. They said Summit. A lot of people have questioned where he was parking, because that area is a very high traffic area, and there's not a lot of parking spots typically, according to many folks who frequent the area. So apparently he had crossed Summit Boulevard to get into his Nissan Xterra, which had stolen license plates. The witness made eye contact with Routh. The witness observed him get into the vehicle and flee at a high rate of speed. The witness, who apparently was a female, took a photograph of the license plate and wrote down all but the last number of the license plate itself. That is how he was tracked, because he got on I-95 and was headed north, and then all of the cameras that track license plates were able to pinpoint his location. We talk about him being arrested, and then there's some interesting things that were found here when he was actually arrested in the vehicle. They discovered that the license plate was stolen during a search. They found 2 additional license plates. They also found 6 cell phones. We're going to get into this a little bit later on. One of the cell phones contained a Google search of how to travel from Palm Beach County to Mexico. The agents also found 12 pairs of gloves, a Hawaii driver's license with the defendant's name on it, a passport in the defendant's name, documents including a handwritten list of dates in August, September, and October, and the venues where President Trump had appeared or was expected to appear, a notebook with dozens of pages filled with names and phone numbers pertaining to Ukraine, discussions of how to join combat on behalf of Ukraine, and notes criticizing the governments of China and Russia. The FBI obtained cell site records of 2 cell phones found in the Nissan Xterra. The 2 phones, and why are they only telling us about these 2? We don't know. We're going to get into some other unknowns here in just a second. The cell phones serviced by different carriers that utilized different towers, and the analysis showed the following. Routh had traveled from Greensboro, North Carolina area to West Palm Beach on August 14th. Now remember, it has been reported widely that he left North Carolina, the Greensboro area, and moved to Hawaii roughly around 2018, moved in with his either fiance or wife. We don't know the details on that yet. It's been reported both ways on that, which we'll get to here in just a second. But for some reason, he was back in North Carolina, even though apparently he didn't live there anymore. He had also voted in North Carolina a few months before this. So did he reestablish residency in North Carolina? We don't know. Additionally, one thing to note is that as of right now, he's only been charged with possession of a firearm by a felon, because of course he has multiple felonies in his background. That leads us to indicate that possibly he brought the weapon with him, because if he had purchased it in Florida, it's entirely possible. We don't know this. This is speculation at this point, but it's entirely possible that he would be charged with a felon purchasing a stolen firearm, which again, of course, is a felony. So is it possible that he just had this in North Carolina, because of course he had long roots in North Carolina, and we don't know yet at this point, but it is interesting. They go on to state that on multiple days and times, from August 18th to September 15th, Routh's cell phone accessed cell towers located near Trump International and the former president's residence at Mar-a-Lago. So he was both at the golf course multiple times as well as at his house. The charging document continues on talking about his book. It's called Ukraine's Unwinnable War. It was self-published, and the editor, of course, was his wife as well as a possible fiance. We don't know that at this point. Essentially, he states that we must take part of the blame for the person that we elected for our next president that ended up being brainless, but I am man enough to say that I misjudged and made a terrible mistake, and Iran, I apologize. You are free to assassinate Trump as well as me for that error in judgment and dismantling of the deal. No one here in the US seems to have the balls to put natural selection to work, or even unnatural selection. As if this story wasn't crazy enough, it goes on with this gem right here, and it says, on September 18th, law enforcement was contacted by a civilian witness who stated that Routh had dropped off a box at his residence several months prior. After learning of the September 15th incident at Trump International, the witness opened the box. So a few things here. Number one, you know Ryan Routh, who at this point we have a pretty good idea, not exactly the most mentally there person. He might be a little bit out there. So a random guy comes over to your house and drops off a box that is sealed up, and you don't touch it and you don't open it for months. It's interesting. It contains a number of things that we're going to get into here in just a second. We also don't know some things that it contained, but interesting that you wouldn't open it up, especially given that the guy probably isn't all there, and you probably would know that if you were friends enough with him that he would be dropping things off at your house. It's an interesting thing. So what does that say? And then additionally, why would you open it after there was an assassination attempt? If you just saw someone potentially assassinate the president, wouldn't you want to maybe keep it closed in case there's like something crazy in there, like a bomb or something like that, and then notify the authorities? I don't know, but it does speak to the person who we're talking about here. It does speak to their mental state. The witness stated that the box contained ammunition, a metal pipe, miscellaneous building materials, tools, 4 phones, so we're up to 10 phones now, 6 in his vehicle, 4 in the box, and various letters. 1 handwritten letter addressed to the world stated among several things, and then we have the letter here. This is an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but I failed you. I tried my best and gave all the gumption I could muster. It is up to you now to finish the job. I will offer $150,000 to whomever may complete the job. It says here, the witness took a photograph of the first page, and it is shown below. So we're talking about the FBI is the ones, or the Department of Justice, presumably with FBI agents writing up this charging document. A couple things. Why would they include the witness's photo? Why wouldn't they just scan it for evidence? Additionally, why are they only releasing this one letter when we know that there were multiple in there? So did he either know that the plan was going to fail, or did he write several letters, one of them if it succeeded, one of them if it failed, etc.? Where did he get the $150,000? We've mentioned in previous videos that he stated to a judge that he was making $3,000 a month living in Hawaii, which doesn't go very far in Hawaii at all, particularly where he was living in his $900,000 plus house that was apparently in his wife's name. So where did he get the money? Where did he get the money for all this travel back to North Carolina, down to Florida? Apparently he was there for a long time. Where was he staying? We don't know. Who was funding wherever he was staying? We don't know. He claimed that he had no savings at all when the judge asked him in court. So there's a lot of things that don't add up. Additionally, we mentioned there in his book that he was writing that to Iran. We also mentioned in the last video, I'm not going to get too deep into it. If you guys are interested, go check it out. But that he had stated that he believed he could get fighters from Afghanistan into Ukraine with Pakistani passports through Iran. So there's a lot of interesting connections in there. The charging document then goes into some backup history with Ryan here, some of his criminal past. I will leave a link down below if you guys want to check it out. Some other things I wanted to bring up that have kind of come to light over the past week or so is that as of today, when I'm recording this, it's Monday, Dan Bongino said that the Secret Service communication system is likely compromised. Once again, we have asked this, and I'm not alone. Why has there been two people that have been able to get into positions that were known security vulnerabilities to the Secret Service, but in both cases they were able to get there? Obviously the AGR building was identified by locals as well as the Secret Service as a potential threat area. Somehow this guy got on the roof into that threat area, and then this guy here, it was an area that was well known to Secret Service. It was part of their SOP to put a post stander there. For some reason, this person knew, I don't know why, that this area would be unoccupied on that particular day. Is it possible that it's a coincidence? Sure. Is it probable? Probably not. And Dan Bongino, again, a former Secret Service agent, says that his sources are telling him that their internal communication system may be compromised. That doesn't mean it's nefarious per se, but it does mean that it's something that I would definitely look at for sure. Once again, we talked about it in the past that a Pakistani man with ties to Iran was arrested the day before the Butler Farms arrest, and he was offering to pay people $300,000 to kill prominent politicians, including President Trump. That person is in custody now, but is that tied to this? There's a lot of weird connections, I can tell you that much. Additionally, it should be known that this has come out a month or so ago. There's an Iranian-backed group that hacked the Trump internal communications of their campaign and emailed that information to all the media sources, all the large newspapers and things like that, as well as the Harris campaign. So if they're able to get into Trump's campaign communications, it's entirely possible that they're able to get into the movement of Secret Service agents and things like that. Routh's wife hasn't been found, according to authorities. However, based on what we found, she's a former Victoria's Secret executive who lived, again, on an island in Oahu, I believe is the island there, on the east side of that island, which is very, very beautiful. It's a very nice place, and it's not cheap to live out there, I can tell you that much. Is anybody even looking for her? We don't know. That house wasn't searched until 4 days after the attempted assassination attempt. That's interesting. What was going on during those 4 days? We don't know. Routh stated when he was detained by DHS agents a couple of years ago, when he was coming back into the country from Ukraine, he stated that all of his expenses essentially were funded by his wife. That is according to DHS documents that have come out. And of course, the other big question, the other big elephant in the room is going to be what happened at Butler Farms. We still don't know. Is the reason a lot of the basic information we don't know about that attack, that would-be assassin, hasn't come out because it's related to this, because there's ongoing criminal investigations against other people operating in the country. Matt Gaetz, as well as several other congressmen, have reported that there are up to 5 active cells that are currently attempting to assassinate President Trump. Is it related to that? Is that why they're holding it back? Because they don't want to give away sensitive information that they may have on these groups? We don't know. There's a lot of unknowns that probably shouldn't be unknowns in a free society. So that is where we're going to leave it today. Before we close the video out, we definitely need to thank our main channel sponsor as well, and that is the good folks over at Brownells. If you guys want to get these, they probably have these over at Brownells, as well as ammunition to fill it, optics for your gun that don't require hose clamps, as well as firearms and gunsmithing parts. Definitely check them out. If you guys are new here, hit the subscribe button. Unfortunately, I think we're going to be doing more videos like this here on the channel because this stuff keeps happening. If you are subscribed and you haven't seen 2 to 4 videos a week here on the channel, that means you're being censored by an algorithm from my content. You can sign up for the email at the website here on your screen, so that way this email goes out once a month. It has all the videos since the previous month's email went out, so that way you're not censored by an algorithm. It goes straight from me to you. Additionally, we have Daily Deals email. It has 8 of the best deals that we find around the internet. If the deal, whatever it is, ammunition, optics, guns, whatever the case may be, accessories. If it's in that email on a given day, it's the cheapest I know of anywhere on the internet. So that way it saves you guys some time and hopefully saves you some money. Lastly, we have our SMS service that you can sign up for as well. Either breaking news in a video or the best deal of the day goes out once a day. No more than that. It's not super spammy or anything like that. You can sign up for it at the website here on your screen, mrgunsandgear.com/SMS. And that's it, guys. If you have questions, things, thoughts on this, let us know down below. The more people and the more information we can gather from the most sources, the better. So there is that. Thank you all for watching. I truly appreciate it. We'll see you in the next video.